Hello and welcome to Retro Reviews, my channel where I review my favorite retro video games of all time, as well as some modern releases I have recently finished. Today I want to talk about the granddaddy of all home gaming pretty much. I'm going to be talking about Super Mario Bros., the original for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Mario is one of my favorite video game characters, probably most people's favorite or most recognizable video game character. He's just so iconic in gaming for how consistent he's been over the years. But it all started back on the Nintendo Entertainment System, at least for his 2D platforming days. We had him back in the arcades with Donkey Kong and then Super Mario Bros. With him and Luigi. But this was his debut as a side-scrolling platformer. And I want to talk about why the original Mario Bros. Is so good and so evergreen even to this day. Because if you go back and play this game, you can tell it looks older. It definitely has that older aesthetic. This is 8-bit graphics we're talking about. But it still plays like a dream. It plays like some of the best platformers you've ever touched, ever. And it's because Nintendo really knew what they were doing. They really had a great vision, and they executed it fantastically. So the whole goal of the game is pretty simple. You play as Mario trying to get to Princess Peach, who's been abducted by Bowser. You go through 8 worlds, or if you want to use the warps and skip things, find a bunch of secrets for that. You go through each of these castles, you find out that Bowser is not actually at this castle and that Peach hasn't been here, it's been an imposter pretending to be Bowser, and you progress all the way through the last world, and once you finally beat Bowser, there's Princess Peach there, and you rescue the princess, and it's all good. It's a fantastic formula, it's really basic. This outlined the basic principles for most of Nintendo's first-party franchises. If you think about Mario and Zelda, they don't have the most deep lore. I guess the lore is kind of deep, but the story itself at the surface is pretty minimal. They don't do a whole lot story-wise because they don't need to. The gameplay is what shines for the story that they're trying to tell. And Mario just still feels perfect to play today. Going through each and every level, you can tell that they were handcrafted and designed so lovingly by Nintendo and the original devs. It works exceptionally well on the old controllers still as well. If you play it on like the NES Classic, I've played it through there as well. It's very fun to utilize that old NES style controller. Or the Game & Watch because it's pretty similar as well in the style and layout. I like the Game & Watch version better just because there's like a built-in save function, so if you die, you can just go back to a previous world, like you'll start at the beginning of the world instead of going all the way back to the beginning. So if you're not like super ready to play this retro game and really experience it, if you're not as seasoned or you don't know what to expect from some of the worlds, you have to go all the way back to the beginning. This is really nice. It offers some nice little fixes here and there for modern gamers. And the screen resolution is really beautiful. I love how they did everything with upscaling, and it's just really nice. If you have an opportunity to get a Mario or a Zelda Game & Watch, I think they're really phenomenal value, honestly. It's a nice, easy thing you can throw in your pocket. I would just take a couple minutes when I had time, and I'd just play a couple levels in Mario. It was a grand time. I love how they design each of the worlds to be progressively more difficult. As you learn the mechanics of the game, you get presented with more options and more things that can kill you or damage you. And so you have to learn how to avoid taking damage, utilize your power-ups to the best of your ability. It's just really beautiful design. And then the boss castles themselves are nice and intricate. They have like more varied mechanics. They have a spookier theme. The music throughout the entire game is phenomenal from start to finish. You have the iconic da-da-da-da-da-da, which is something that everybody knows. And if you get all the way to the castle, you've got the castle theme that's very like sinister. I mean, even on like the 8-bit like crunch sound that it has on the Nintendo, it still sounds sinister and something that you know you have to take seriously. I love how the challenge ramps up at each of the castles and then kind of pulls back for the next world, but gives you new mechanics that you have to manage as you go through each of the levels. It's just fantastic. Add in like the secrets that you can find as well. If you go into the second level in the entire game, you go above the bricks at the very top. If you're able to break through and go over, or if you utilize the platforms, you can go to a warp zone and skip several worlds. Go to world 4. You can warp again shortly after that and go all the way to world 8. So you can skip most of the game if you are willing to find these secrets and if you want to utilize these skips so you don't have to play nearly as much, or if you're going for like a speed run or something like that. It's just phenomenal what they're able to pack into such an old experience. One of these pioneers of home gaming that really like took the adventure model here, like made the adventure model. They took away a lot of like the arcade style things that were doing well, but were not as feasible or didn't give you nearly as much content to explore. This gave you not only like the advent of side scrolling in a video game, going from left to right and vertical, like jumping up and down, gave you a lot of depth back in the day, and it gave you a full adventure to explore in this time where that wasn't really a thing. Nintendo really were pioneers of not only their technology, but of game design. And you can really see it all the way back in this game. It was miles ahead of its competition. That's what put Nintendo so far ahead for such a long time. Put them all the way through to the Nintendo 64 era. That's when they started to slip up on what their decision making was. They were still making great games, but up until that point, they were pretty well uncontested. Sega was doing a great job. They were making comparable decisions. They were making like better hardware, especially, and they were showing off the blast processor capabilities and stuff. It was a fantastic console, but because Nintendo was so innovative and their properties were so accessible and so much fun, they were just really pulling ahead. And there's a reason why they're still around today and Sega isn't. They just know how to consistently make good decisions throughout and capitalize on the market. This game is fantastic. It's so evergreen because you can pick it up and play it today, and it feels like a brand new, fresh experience. It feels like something that you can just really enjoy today. Even if you've never played Super Mario Bros., if you picked it up today, I guarantee you'd have a fun time if you enjoy platformers at all. It just feels so good to play every time you pick it up. I will leave this game for years, and I'll come back and to visit my sister, and she's got the NES Classic out, and I'll boot it up and be like, man, this is so great. So much nostalgia, even though that wasn't my era of gaming. I grew up past the Nintendo era, and I really just love this game. It feels so nostalgic and so much fun. So this one's an easy one for me. I'm going to give the original Super Mario Bros. A platinum rank. This is one of the best games ever made, and it should be played by everybody. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one.